And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the Talmudim came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of your coming and of the end of the world? And Yahushua answered and said unto them. Now, what's very interesting, and often whenever we come to this passage during teaching, we love to emphasize this point. Listen to the question. When shall these things be? What shall be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age, the end of this world? His answer, the first thing he wants to make sure that he gets across to them, take heed that no man deceive you. Think about that. Take heed that no man causes you to roam, causes you to wander away from the truth, causes you to believe a lie as if it is truth. Let no man deceive you. So in other words, that means we have to become aware of the workings of the adversary, the workings of that old serpent called the devil and Satan, who deceiveth the world. If he says, let no man deceive you, that means as believers, we got to be on point and be aware of every step the adversary takes. So in order to do that, what we have to simply do, follow the pattern that has been laid out in the Word, that reveals and opens up to us exactly what the adversary has done in the world. So we have no excuses. But the adversary, he has confused. That's his strong point. Confusion. The adversary, he stirred up the pot, and he makes it difficult for people to know and to understand. Listen to some of the things that we as people say. There's only one God. You know, think about that. So you're talking to somebody about the truth. Well, there's only one God anyway. In other words, here's the thought. Whenever a person says to you, there's only one God. So if I choose to worship on Sunday, it's only one God anyway. I'm worshiping the same God you worshiping. You know, if I choose to eat whatever I want to eat, and based on my religion, that's okay. Oh, there's only one God. You know, and what I'm doing in honor of that God, I mean, he accepted anyway. That's the thought. And how do we know that's what they mean? Because here's another thing that people say. Well, God knows my heart. You know what's interesting about that statement? Yes, and I do not disagree. God does know your heart. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But you know what's interesting again? Jeremiah, who said that the heart is deceitful and desperately wicked. Who can know it? So you're right. Yah, he knows our heart. That word, Yahweh, Elohim, he knows that heart. But we don't know it. That's the problem. Okay? Why don't we know it? Because our minds have been blinded. We have been confused. Let's move on. Here's another one. You talk to somebody about the Word. That's your interpretation. Interpretations of the Word. How many of you know and understand the only reason that we have all of these different doctrines in the world today? And when I say different doctrines, I'm not limiting it just to religious doctrine, philosophies, sciences, all of these doctrines. The only reason we have all of that is because people have interpreted things the way they wanted to interpret it, and we're going to see that shortly. That's why we have all of this confusion in the world. Okay? So no, when you get into the Word, whenever it comes to understanding the Word, and again, understand, pray with humility, with sincerity, and ask the Creator whether or not what's about to be said is true. The only reason you got all this confusion and all this calamity in the world is because people don't rely on the Word. When there's a question that's asked, believe me, the Word gives the answer. When it comes to understanding the Word, everything we need, the answers are there. talking about suggestions, talking about deception and the way the adversary works. Now, some people have an issue with going to see certain things in a movie, and I respect that. Certain things you just don't want to be subject to. I'm not that type of person. I'm the type of person, first of all, as far as being a man goes, I'm a movie buff. I love going to the movies. But one thing that I've also learned, because the Creator has taught, there are motivations behind everything that you see on that screen. Now I'm saying all of this just to bring up this one particular point. How many of you have seen the Simpsons movie? Now in the beginning of that movie, they had a situation where something was happening and the town was in an uproar, and then Homer Simpson, he takes the Bible and he flips through the Bible and he said, there's no answers in this, and then he throws it away. But see, that little thing, that little snippet right there, see, people don't realize how the mind takes in all of that information. There's no answers in that book. There's no answer in that book. It was placed there to get doubt starting to churn in the minds of people who ever watch that movie. Anything that you see pertaining to religion, you'll be surprised how the adversary works to continue instilling doubt. That's why faith, supporting, building up the Most High is so important. If you can maintain that, guess what? The Bible says this: if it were possible, even the very elect would be deceived. But what people don't realize, you know why elect can't be deceived? Because of their faith. Because when you have faith in the Most High, and the Most High has taken up residence in you by Ruach HaKodesh, you're not only seeing through your carnal eyes anymore, but you're starting to see as He sees. So you're able to see the movement of the adversary. You know why? Because the Word is now being opened up by that Spirit that dwells in you, which is now confirmed with the Spirit of life that gives us the intellect of this physical world we're living in. And it teaches us, and it helps us to see and understand these things. But see, men, because they want to make themselves out to be something, they philosophize about the Word. They interpret the Word in the manner they see fit. Here's another thought that you find with many people. In addition to, oh, that's your interpretation. You got people say, well, people interpret the Bible in different ways. But guess what? Here's the problem with that. It is not given to man to interpret the Bible the way we want to interpret the Bible. We have to be led and taught the Word by His Spirit. That is the only way we get understanding, or be taught by a man who is being moved by His Spirit. That is the only way that we get understanding. And how do we know? Well, whatever that man teaches has to be in accord, founded on, and agree with the Word. Let's go down to Matthew chapter 24 and verse 11. It says, and many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And when we think about these false prophets, again, don't just neglect the other teachers in the world out there. Don't just limit it to people who profess different religions. Because these prophets, these false prophets, these false teachers who are deceiving many, guess what? They teach a multitude of doctrines to keep the minds of this world confused. Because that is one of the main proponents that the adversary uses to keep us from having faith. Think about it. Meditate on it. Pray about it. Okay? Now we're going to turn to Revelation chapter 13. And we're going to see other things be opened up according to the word of Yah.